Hello. So today we are meeting with people who identify themselves as friends of the Dialectical Mind. And in that series of conversations, we have with us Anupama Saini. Anupama currently heads the British Council New Delhi division. And I would like Anupama to tell us a bit about herself.
Right. So, talking about yourself is a little bit weird, I find, but just to tell everybody about myself, I am a professional librarian and I absolutely love the work that I do. And what led me to becoming a librarian was primarily my love for books and the joy that books bring into my life. So, earlier I was working in auditing, and then I found that it's nice, but I really miss working with books and around books. I love nature. I love taking nature walks, history walks. That keeps me going, and I love music. I love animals. I have Joey, who happens to be my dog brother, and he's not a pet, by the way.
Yeah,
A
Joy
very
is a
intelligent
family
personality.
member.
And black coffee, Joy is.
Absolutely.
Joy is. So yeah, that's pretty much about it. And yes, I also love spending time with my friends and my family. That also sort of gives me the strength to take every day as it comes.
That's very interesting, and there are so many interesting things that you're passionate about. So it's really good to have someone like you believe in the vision of the dialectical mind, because you lead a very interesting life, right? So why would you need to associate yourself with a social enterprise? But you do, so that tells something about the kind of work we are doing. Uh, so, Anupama, tell me, as a librarian now, because of the pandemic, I mean, I think the library must have been closed. It's been closed for a long, long period of time. So, how do you think that's affecting people and, just their sense of well being? Because libraries are a very important space, I believe.
You're right, Richa. Libraries are indeed a very important space because a lot of people associate libraries only with books and checking in, checking out books. But in my experience, I've worked in a lot of libraries. I have been a very active library user ever since my school days. So I know that library has a lot of, I would say, layers in in its personality. So libraries are also a place where people sort of run into each other and they find reading similar books and then they become friends. Or it
Those
becomes a
good old
place where
days when people
people
could run
just
into
come
each
to
other.
meet.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And books would tell you that, this person should be, made a friend and this person absolutely not because I do not like this author.
Right.
So, yeah, it's also a very engaging social place for people to come together to exchange ideas because library is basically about information, right? It's lesser about books, more about information. Books happen to be just a medium of information, and especially in this age where we have so much technology and information comes from various places, it becomes even more important for a librarian and a library to give out right information. So, in the current scenario where a lot of libraries have been closed for a while, although they are slowly opening up, then first of all, it changes the pattern in which people sort of spend their time, their me time. I know that a lot of people engage in books and reading books, or even a visit to the library is a part of self healing and like giving time to yourself. I mean, it was for me when I was
Me
a
too.
user.
Definitely.
So that has changed. Exactly. So that has changed. But at the same time, people have engaged themselves in either buying books online or, like borrowing them from friends, or either there are libraries who are now giving books in the sense that you can order and then you can pick up books from the library to minimize the human interaction. That is also happening, and libraries like Delhi Public Library, they are opening. slowly and gradually with reduced capacity. So all of that is happening. And the point that this is happening, and the point that nobody is ignoring whether libraries are now opening again or not, tells how important libraries are for people, not just to, sort of engage themselves and spend their leisurely time. I would say to heal themselves, spend some time with the kind of literature that they would want to indulge in, and also to sort of, for self enrichment. Because books, they slowly, they sort of hold your hand and they take you slowly towards where you want to reach eventually. So you pick up a thing, and then the kind of impact that it has on you, it's long lasting. So that's how I look at it.
You talk so eloquently of your love of books. I mean, it's so evident that your life, books are a very, very important component of your life. And it's only befitting that you chose this profession, because a lot of people, I mean, in libraries, I've seen a lot of librarians, they're just like detached from their work. So they'll just sit at a counter and not really engage with the library going people. But I've also observed your practice as a librarian, and I've seen how active and how you've been on your toes. You make rounds of the library every day, and actually the arrangement of the interiors, the way bookshelves and all were arranged, that changed once you started heading the British Council Library in New Delhi. So that's amazing, and that stems from a very deep rooted love for books. So that's something that I find really fascinating. uh, but you also pointed out a very important thing where you say that libraries are a space for healing, right? So, what do you have to say about such spaces, and why do we require such spaces? I mean, do you think you know, such spaces help people with their mental health, for instance?
Absolutely. I very strongly second the fact that, firstly, spaces are important. So, be it a social place or be it a place for your healing, after being at home in the pandemic, we understand the importance of space. And spaces, inherently have a vibe, right? So, my bedroom has a different vibe. I cannot work in my bedroom. My kitchen has a different vibe. I'm on my toes when I'm in my kitchen. And my office room or my study room, they are completely different. So, whether it is about segregation of space within your home, or it is about these particular spaces outside which we used to venture pre-pandemic, like we would go for poetry nights,
Yes.
or these reading clubs,
Jashne
or
Rekha, for
libraries, or
example.
museums,
Yes.
Dashne Rehta. So it's
So
lesser
completely
about
gone from our lives now.
precisely. So it was about, how vibes develop of a place. Like-minded people come together and they create the vibe of that space. That's why vibe of library is very different from a shopping mall, right? In a shopping mall, people come with a mindset that I have to spend money and I have to acquire things. But in library, people come with a very different mindset that, I have to spend some quality time, or I'm looking for some information, sort of a thing. So I definitely believe that libraries are a place for self healing, because nowadays, when you have interruptions every minute, you have these digital distractions, in the sense that your phone is beeping, people are calling, you have your virtual meetings. Spending quiet time and understanding the importance of having such quiet times is absolutely essential. Library is a place which, by virtue of being a silent sort of a place, although it's not really silent, I mean, we have time zones in the library, we also have social zones in the library. So it's not really a silent place, but people do accept the fact that I have to put my phone on silent, or I have to refrain from using it for some time. People give themselves that space, that that thing, that fine, it's okay if I do not check my phone for an hour. If you tell somebody that I'm paying a visit to the library, please do not call me for next 1 hour, they would respect that fact. So I think self healing starts when, firstly, you understand that everything is fine in your life, but there is still scope for improvement, or it also needs maintenance. Because if a room looks very tidy, that doesn't mean that you don't dust and clean and do stuff.
Or that will
If
stay
your
tidy
mind is
forever.
at peace,
Yeah.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It needs regular maintenance. So I think spending time for yourself, with yourself, is the best way to self heal, because then you get to reflect on yourself and think that what is going wrong and how to sort of fix it. And libraries do play a part in it by giving you the right books, by giving you the right atmosphere, the right environment, the right vibe. So they are extremely critical to mental health.
And the right mix of, it gives you a perfect sort of reason to stay away from your phone or not to talk or to be silent. So
Precisely.
for that matter, these are like sanctuaries of mindfulness in the middle of a bustling city.
They are.
And that's how even
Absolutely.
I relate to libraries, and especially the British Council Library. Growing up, that's how I relate to it. Just going there and sitting. Sometimes even if I'm not reading a book, just going and sitting, it's a good experience in itself because it's quiet. And obviously, there are so many books around, so it's very comforting to know that you're surrounded by books and you can pick one anytime you like. So that's very comforting in itself.
Exactly.
Right.
And for that matter, the Central Library of Delhi University, I
Hmm.
mean, it has such a beautiful blend of concrete and also nature. You can pick a book and you can go and sit near the people tree and read for hours, and nobody would say a thing to you. So I think libraries have been developed very mindfully across. I wouldn't even say across the city, because I've been to many cities and used many libraries across the world. They have been made very mindfully. It's just that we have to be a little bit more aware of how to use the space.
Right. So in my mind, it evokes that image of almost like a well-lit cave kind of a thing, which is so comfortable, and you have your lamps and all the tiny things in place. The kind of thing that you'll read in a kid's book, probably. So it's a very, very safe space where you can just go and buy yourself in a different world altogether, and that's very, very beautiful for me. But uh, considering that because of the pandemic these spaces are shrinking, and probably you'll have to also reconceptualize how libraries function now, because the waves are not going to stop. There are going to be more waves of the pandemic, so it won't be the same as before. um, so what could be the alternate ways for people to engage with books, and do you think that the psychological well-being of people in some ways being impacted by closing down of such spaces, or such spaces become scarce?
Um, I won't say that libraries are closing down, or I won't even say that such spaces are shrinking. I would rather say that the form in which they operate is changing. So they are trying their best to give access to people to the resources that are there in the library. But to answer your question about how to sort of find an alternative of like doing such stuff which we used to do in the library, and we have to learn to live with the pandemic, right? So I think one thing which is very important is that to understand that this pandemic has phases, right? So there are these phases where you can go out with maximum precaution, you're double masking, your sanitizer, your safe distancing, and there are these phases in which you absolutely have to be at home. There is no other option but to be at home. So I would suggest that whenever you get the opportunity to go out in safe spaces, you can perhaps pick a book, go to a park, read. That doesn't give you the same vibe as you get in a library, but that would definitely give you some time which is different from the way you usually spend your time. Or maybe like grab a book and find a nook or a corner in your room and just put things that you love there. Like, if you love aroma, put an aroma there. If you love lighting, put in lighting there. Even fairy lights would do. And not to put, not to stereotype with this with ladies, that, fairy lights with ladies, like it's not, it's calming. It's good for everybody.
No, but that's
So,
the stereotype, isn't it? Unicorns and fairy lights are for
it
girls.
is. Yeah. And all this feminine thing, it's not. I mean, I put in fairy lights, and
But you're
my
a
husband
woman, right?
absolutely enjoys it. So
Okay. All right.
I am
So
a woman, and my husband also enjoys that. So yeah, I mean it's
One
time
of the
to
rare
sort of
husbands, I
share
think, who
these
enjoys fairy lights.
prejudices. I think all of them do. They just don't, sort of
They
accept
don't
it.
like to show it. Yeah, yeah. I was about to say that. I mean, fairy
So
lights are
you can
complicated.
make it spaces. Yeah, they can't. They are. We
Yeah, but the
love.
society has a way to make everything
So
gendered, right?
I would
Then fairy lights can become gendered.
absolutely. There is a blue and a pink in every damn thing you point out.
Even
You
the
know,
like the
and
childhood has
as
been gendered so much.
it is gendered, and thankfully gender neutral parenting is becoming a thing now, and there are people like us, and a lot many people who are now talking about the gender very openly, and these little conversations happening in our families about gender.
Right,
So
right,
I think times are changing, and they will
right.
change slowly, and perhaps when we bring our children into this world, this will be slightly improved.
That's a good thought to have. So, in a sense, what you're telling me is that libraries help people make sense of their lives, and that is why they are so strongly associated with the sense of well-being that people have. So, Anubha, tell me, as a librarian, do you think it's important for people, especially in this day and age, to talk about the importance of their mental well-being, or that sense of wellness that people experience in their lives, especially in the aftermath of the pandemic?
Absolutely. I very strongly agree that mental well being is a thing. It's a thing. It's not a myth. It's not, oh, you don't talk about ghosts, they don't exist. Because, especially after the pandemic, a lot of people who never had, sort of any issues, or who had issues but never recognized them, have started acknowledging the importance of mental health after being locked up in their houses with the families that they absolutely love and they live for, and understanding that we have so many facets to our personalities, and there can be this thing called making your own bubble at times and just retreating to it. And even if you live in the same space but you want some time for yourself, that has come to the forefront. uh, we never really acknowledge the kind of dependence that human beings have on social interaction. I mean, people like you who work in mental health and who are aware of various studies which have been done about human behavior know it very well. But people like us who are in general, just going around living life the way it comes to you, never really acknowledged the kind of importance that is associated with human interaction, with talking to different people within a day, meeting them personally, having a handshake. All of that contributes to your mental health. Everything that you go through every day, it comes and it affects your mental health. And you can work out, you can eat healthy, but if you do not have mental peace, or if you do not have the awareness of how your brain or your mind for that matter is functioning, or does it need attention and help, then I think you are missing a very big chunk of your overall health.
Right.
So I mean, if you look at me, I come from a background like I had no, what you can say, no problems, like real problems in life, right? Maybe deprivation, poverty, discrimination. I did not really face it in a very, sort of intimidating manner. Of course, I had my own struggles, but if you look at it, from a good student to a good university to the profession that I wanted to be in, to the premier institution that I wanted to be associated with, everything has come in very smoothly. But even today, I need a lot of support when it comes to my mental health. And I'll give you a very small example that I think everybody would be able to associate with. After a tiring day, you would want to just pick up your phone and dial one person that you want to talk to. And 10 minutes into the conversation, you would feel better. What are they doing? Are they giving you any pill? Are they giving you anything external to feel happy? No. They are just talking. But that talking is so, sort of satisfying and joyous to be associated with or to be into, that you feel comforted, you feel relaxed. So that's your mind saying that you like talking to that person after a busy day. So I think it's high time that we recognize that mental health is not a myth. Talking to a therapist or talking to a psychiatrist or going out for a walk is something that you need for your mental health. It's not something, oh, let's do it because it will make you healthy, or oh, let's go, don't go to a therapist because then people will think you're mad. It's not. It's like, it's something that you do for your maintenance, overall maintenance of your health. So it's as basic as that. Basic hygiene.
Basic hygiene. I think that's a very, very uh, apt way to put it, because so many times we invest so much time, the way our lives are structured due to social conditioning, due to social learning or whatever. But the way, the amount of attention we pay to how we're looking, how we dress up, even for that matter, what we eat, people pay a lot of attention to all of those things. But I don't know, for some reason or the other, how we are thinking, how we are feeling is something that's very often neglected. It's not even a point where people will not want to invest in that. And I think that is something that needs to change. And with the pandemic and with conversations like this happening, I think uh, there is hope for that, right? So with this, I'd like to ask you, why do you choose to be a friend of the dialectical mind? Why do you choose to support our vision?
So dialectical mind, there are various reasons why I feel that this is an organization which has come into existence exactly when it was needed. So, pandemic, people just being within themselves, within their houses. I would use the word trapped with a similar kind of vibe, and that, kind of giving you a lot of negative emotions which you cannot really deal with. Now, what can be a way out of this? Because we cannot go out. So, is there something that we can do within these four walls that would give us the much needed peace? So, dialectical mind, I think, with it brings all of these elements together, right from healing to self awareness to using things like music and poetry in your basic mental hygiene. That is something that dialectical mind does. And like, I know you well, and I know the fact that not only are you trained in being a mental health professional, but you are also a person who is passionate about this thing. And that is the reason why you kind of, sort of stitch together different aspects of our lives which we often treat in silos, and we neglect to see that there's a mental health aspect to it.
Right.
So maybe that all of us love music, right? I mean, for example, I love listening to Rabindra music, but it also has an impact, yeah, and it also has an impact on my mental health, because when I'm doing that, I am feeling happier. But you, I know, is a person who can stitch these things together. Let's look at it differently, and let's see how these normal every day-to-day things can help you in achieving a better mental health. So, what can be more beautiful than that? And secondly, I think it also impacts the kind of people who are working in an organization to achieve whatever the organization is made for. So you have got a group of these passionate people who have no other reason to be associated with this organization, honestly, but their passion, sheer passion for whatever they want to do. And this area, because it has been stereotyped for such a long time, that people still think that going for a therapy is, such a huge thing. I think it needs more people with passion, because it needs a social acceptance. And for social acceptance, you need to talk it out loud and talk in the way that people understand, right? You have to shape people's opinion. And this group has got all the passion and the knowledge that it needs to firstly frame a public opinion, and secondly to help people out in reality. Like, these are a group of mental health professional who are there to help.
Right.
So I think that is why I'm extremely proud of being associated with Dialectical Mind. And I really, really wish that this organization grows and grows so that the impact that it has on lives multiplies really, really soon, and people just come to accept the fact that mental health is it's like brushing your teeth, so you do it regularly.
Wow, that was so beautiful. Mental health is like brushing your teeth, so it's something that you need to pay attention to every single day,
You need to do it.
and you cannot take it. I couldn't have put it better myself. So there, you said it. It's like brushing your teeth. That's really important. That's a great takeaway. Thank you so much, Anupama, for taking this time out for talking. It has been a huge motivation for me as well. Someone like you believing in our vision. So it's been wonderful. It's been lovely talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Richa. And it was extremely awesome for me to be a part of this conversation and to actually talk about something that you believe in. It gives you a lot of power for yourself also. It gives you this power to sort of, move throughout the day while thinking that, oh, I talked about something that I absolutely love. So, yeah, thank you for making me a part of this conversation.
Thank you so much. And it's indeed a pleasure to have you always. All right.
Thanks, Richa, and all the best.
Thank you. Thank you, Anupama. I'll see you around. Thank you.
Yes, take care. Bye.
Bye.